So let's begin today in a folded leaf, or you may know this as a child's pose. So coming onto your hands and knees, letting your belly relax between your thighs, letting Kiki come across. And you can let your arms cross like a pillow for your head if that's comfortable. Or you can let your arms be out in front of you, or they can be behind you, whatever feels the best in your body this morning. So taking a moment here, dropping into folded leaf, to really let your self go inward. Letting your belly surrender to the floor. Taking a moment to check in. Check in with where you're at. Check in with your breath. And if you find any discomfort here, anything that feels tight or you want to shift or need to tend to, then of course feel free to do that. But I find the folded leaf is a really private place to be. And before I come out into the public for the day, it's nice to drop into this place. Take a moment to notice how breath is moving your body. You may be able to feel the belly expanding as the breath comes in. You may be able to feel the breath coming into the lower back. You may even be able to feel the ribs, the side ribs, moving out to the side. Even in this natural breath rhythm. So we're not doing breath work at the moment, we're observing the breath. And perhaps you can feel its three-dimensionality. And now feed in and let go of a deep down relief on breath. And maybe there's something that you're holding on to that you would like to let go of this morning. And you can let that just surrender to gravity through your deep down sigh of relief on breath. And now slowly beginning to bring yourself up onto all fours. And you can do this slowly. You can let your spine start to wiggle or move. You can let your tailbone start to come to life. You can let your shoulder blades become malleable. You're beginning to bring yourself up onto all fours as you bring your body to life. So that might take the shape of an arching and rounding of your spine. You might roll through your rib cage. You might begin to stretch your arms and legs out. But starting to come from that very private place of the folded leaf into maybe not fully extroverted, but to something maybe a bit more public. Or maybe not. Maybe it's still very private for you. But the thought is bringing life, bringing energy, bringing breath into the rest of your body. And you can find yourself in a conversation with your body, which is that you see what your body is asking of you right now, and then you give it whatever it needs. So it's not necessarily just movement for the sake of movement. Or maybe it is, and maybe that's giving you something too. You might find that a limb wants to get shaken out. Maybe that's what your body is needing right now. But for a few more moments, you really are in a state of tending to whatever your body needs. Bringing some awareness back onto your breath. So that breath and body are working together. And you might find that you move into a sort of unknown text, as it were. That you may find yourself doing yawns and stretches as we've done before, and texts that are known to you, but you might find something completely unformed is what your body is needing. And feel free to yield to whatever that is. This doesn't have to look like anything. Doesn't have to look pretty. If someone were to look at you on the outside, they may have no idea what you're doing right now. But you know what you're doing because you're connected to your body. You're connecting with your breath. And there may be moments of stillness. And then suddenly an arm might get taken out and a breath might get released. And if you find yourself just moving, then maybe be suspicious. Suspicious that it's a one-sided conversation. That to truly be in conversation, that you have to listen. And maybe you begin to let some sound release out. Or maybe you stay on breath. It's totally up to you. Ha. 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 So continuing this conversation with your body for a few more moments. And eventually, through the next series of impulses that you'll feed yourself, let yourself come onto your back. And there's no need to rush to get there, no need to abandon whatever it is that you're doing. But eventually you'll find yourself onto your back. And we'll come with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor. And whenever you arrive here, taking stock of what your body, where you're at now in your body, the conversations that have been woken up, the conversations that have already been had this morning. And then go back to your breath. Be aware of anything that's changed in your breath. And then float your right knee up over your belly. And float your left knee up over your belly. And then bring your right hand on top of your right knee, your left hand on top of your left knee. And let your legs relax here so your calves are just dropped towards your thighs, towards your hamstrings. And very easily begin to let your hands circle your knees. Now I'm going in opposite directions, but you could start letting them go in the same direction, and then every so often you could switch direction. And then you could see what happens when you let them go completely in different directions. And what we're beginning to do here is to open up the hip sockets. I found quite a lot of tension recently in my hip sockets from all the sitting I've been doing. So you might find that your legs are shaking. You might find quite a bit of tension there. But really let your hands do all of the work. So your legs are passive as much as you can allow them to be. They're surrendering. Surrendering into your hands, into gravity. This might be quite intense, so you might need to take a rest and give your knees a hug into your belly, and then come back and revisit this. Now as you continue to circle your knees around, letting the thigh bones start to open up the hip sockets, fluttering through your lips on vibration. So I'm going to flutter through my lips on a triad, a loose triad, circling in the hip sockets, changing direction whenever you need, stopping and hugging your knees into you whenever you need. Bring your knees into the middle of your belly. Give them a gentle shake in and out. And one more time. Let the left foot drop flat. Clasp your both hands around your right knee, shaking your right knee in and away from the belly. Gently exchanging your knees. If you want to let the right leg extend straight, then go ahead and do that. That might give a bit more stretch now to the front of the hip socket. Whew. Feeling that quite a lot. Let that leg extend. Bring the other knee back over. One more on each side. And exchange knees. If you want to, you can let your head gently rock from side to side as well. Let that leg drop. Let both legs extend. Feet in a sigh. Picture those vibrations traveling from maybe even down from your feet, through your legs, through your torso, all the way up through your head and neck and out your arms. And then float your knees back up so your feet are flat on the floor. And then gently bring your fingertips into your jaw, into the sides of your jaw, and begin to massage and soften your jaw muscles. You can also bring the heels of your hands into your jaw. You can also bring your knuckles into your jaw. But tend to these muscles and do whatever they need to release and soften this morning. And there's no need to go in too deeply. Be gentle. And then let that go. Feel your jaw drop a bit more. And then float your hands to your jaw. Let your thumb pads be under your chin, your first fingers over your chin. And just give your jaw a little shake. And now feed in a sigh of breath from all the way down in your torso. Let that sigh of breath come up and over the roof of your mouth. And then to check that your jaw is free, shake your jaw loose a few times. Well, just about 3 or 4, maybe 5 jaw shakes. This time feed in a sigh down to your pelvic floor. And let a river of vibrations travel up and out over the roof of your mouth. And then shake your jaw loose. And one more time, really thinking of that sigh vibration going up and over the roof of your mouth. In fact, if you don't mind, bring a thumb into the front slope of your hard palate. And without shaking your jaw, feed in a sigh and aim your vibrations towards your thumb. That's it. And then let your thumb come out. And then now you think you have real direction for your vibrations to travel to. And again, sighing up and over the roof of your mouth towards where your thumb was a moment ago. And then shake your jaw loose. Bring your fingers now up into the sides of your skull. Massage into the temporalis muscle, to the temples. For those of you who have been getting headaches from all of the screen time like I have, my temporalis really needs this morning. Fingers coming to the sides of the skull, maybe imagining that you're at the salon or the barber, and they're giving you a really luxurious shampoo. And then maybe even bringing your fingers to the back of the skull if you can reach. Letting your fingers massage underneath the occiput, so that sort of V-shaped bone at the base of the skull, so the occipital rim. And it might be really tender. I'm feeling pretty tender back here for me, so being mindful of that. But feeling the connection points of, I believe, the trapezius muscles. Doesn't even matter what the names are, but the neck muscles coming up into the base of the skull. And then bringing your hands to the back of the neck and massaging those neck muscles. Massaging the sides of the neck, those sternocleidomastoids. Massaging the front of the neck, front of the throat. And then letting that go. And again, feeling your jaw drop. And then again, feeding in a sigh of vibrations from your pelvic floor up and over the roof of your mouth. Again, aiming it to where you felt your thumb a moment ago. And shaking your jaw loose. Noticing if that feels any freer. On a loose, sloppy F sound, float your right knee up over your belly. And another loose, sloppy F sound, float your left knee up over your belly. Let your arms outstretched to a T, and this time we'll drop over to the left side. Knees drop over to the left, high up towards your belly as is comfortable. The head drops gently over to the right without closing in the throat. Now if you feel like your thighs are really not appreciating this and you want to grab a pillow or a towel or something, you can put that right between your thighs, and that might give a little bit more relief to your legs. Picturing that diagonal channel from the hip socket nearest the ground through your torso to the opposite shoulder. You're going to feed in a yawning, smiling sigh. So your cheeks go wide as you feed in a wide smile of breath that goes down to that hip socket and travels back out through that wide open channel, through that wide smiling yawn. That's it. And then this time you're going to feed in that yawning, smiling sigh as though it's an animal roar. And I don't know if you've been watching Tiger King on Netflix. We've started to watch it. And so I'm imagining a tiger roaring, a tiger yawning. And my face is getting wide as I feed in that yawning, smiling sigh of breath down to my hip socket, travels diagonally through the riverbed of my torso to the opposite shoulder and out my animal roar mouth. This time feeding in that sigh, it turns to a river of vibrations in your hip socket that travels diagonally through your torso, and again out that animal roar, that smiling mouth. This time leaving the tip of the tongue behind the bottom teeth, feeding in that animal roar, turning into a river of vibration, sighing out, and then stretching and relaxing your tongue. And if you don't know the tongue stretch, then you can just keep sighing. If you do know the tongue stretch, then encouraging the middle and the back of your tongue, a gentle stretch and relax to get it out of the way. And as you sigh out, stretching and relaxing your tongue if you are, thinking of your sigh going up and over your tongue. So it's really finding the space near the roof of your mouth. And now feeding in a sigh, you're going to loosen the middle of your tongue. Right, as if you're shaking the middle of your tongue loose. And this time as you sigh, loosening the middle of your tongue, let your knees come up and over to the other diagonal stretch. Take a moment here to adjust yourself as needed. Let your knees be as high up towards your belly as is comfortable. Coming near to the end of our warm-up today, but wanting to come now to this side so that you can feed in that yawning, smiling animal roar of a sigh, sighing out on vibration and stretching, relaxing your tongue, maybe twice. And again, if you need a pillow between your legs, or if you want to let your right hand come atop your left leg, that might help get a bit more stretch through that whole side body. Letting the breath coming in through that wide animal roar drop down to that hip socket. Let your hand, if it's on the thigh, drop. If the pillow's between your legs, you can take it out. And again, sigh and loosen the middle of your tongue. And then as you sigh, loosening your tongue, let your knees come up and over your belly, and then let them go all the way back to the other side, and let your torso follow so you find yourself in a semi-fetal position on the other side. And if you're not sure where we're at, you can just take a look at the screen and see we've come into a semi-fetal, letting the vibrations come from your navel over your mouth, over the roof of your mouth, and then loosening your tongue. And then bring yourself back now into a folded leaf. You can do that however is most economical for you. Coming back to where we began our warm-up. Picturing the vibrations beginning all the way down at your tailbone, letting the vibrations travel along your spine, through your spine, past your lips to the ground beneath you. Tucking your toes underneath you. Slowly push yourself back into a wide squat. And go slowly, sort of heel-toeing your way from side to side. Yawning in through the mouth here. Feeling that stretch in your soft palate. Stretch in the back of the mouth. And then settle back into the middle of your squat. This might be intense for some of you, so we're not going to be here very long. Let your head drop over without collapsing in your larynx. Feed in a sigh from your tailbone over your spine and loosen the middle of your tongue. And on the next tongue loosening, float your tailbone up to the sky. Bring your feet underneath your hip socket so they're about 2 fist distance apart. Take a moment here. Ooh, my legs are very tense. They might be shaking a bit, and that's all right. Take a moment here to let your torso really drop to gravity. And as though the sound could drop from your tailbone to gravity, and then slowly, as you loosen your tongue, very slowly come up your spine. It might take 3 or even 4 of these tongue loosenings to bring you up your spine. Thinking into your feet as you come up. Take a moment here. If you get dizzy, just take a moment to find your balance. And then as you stand there, with your feet underneath you, with a long spine, feeling the benefit of the floor, feeling the benefit of giving in and surrendering to gravity. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Notice how your tongue feels. Notice how your jaw feels. Notice how your vibrations feel. And notice how you feel. Take a moment to take stock of that. That's our warm-up for today. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this warm-up. I hope you feel refreshed and ready for whatever the rest of your day brings you.